Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of my Steelers recap series. I am your host, Nathan Osler, and week 3 of the NFL season is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football took down the Las Vegas Raiders in a road game that felt like a home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers by a final score of 23-18 in Las Vegas. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now 2-1, sit atop of the AFC North with tiebreakers, and 1-0 now on the road to start their road stretch. And the Las Vegas Raiders are now 1-2 and now 0-1 at home after 2 straight away games. So they start their home stretch 0-1. You could say in these last couple episodes there's been a lot of negatives if you've listened to the last 2. But this game, I would say, has a lot of positives, which is something that the Steelers really needed. And although they only put up 23 points, you can say finally the offense outscored the defense, which is amazing. They needed that. And this was a very good game by Kenny Pickett, easily the best game of the season for him. And you could argue his career. He had 2 passing touchdowns. This is the first time, I think it's said since 2021, the Steelers offense had 2 passing touchdowns in one game. So Kenny Pickett's stat line, 16 of 28, 235 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, a QBR of 71.1, and a rating of 108.5. Very good game for him. He averaged 8.4 yards, 8.4 yards a catch, that is. For the Las Vegas Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo was basic, good old Jimmy Garoppolo. 28 of 44, he had to throw the ball a lot. 324 passing yards, averaged 7.4, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, QBR of 45.5, and a rating of 72.5. He took 4 sacks and lost 31 yards. For Kenny Pickett, though, he only took 1 sack this entire game. And just to start it off, let's start with the goods. And I want to say the offensive line as a whole looked very good for Kenny Pickett. Only took 1 sack. And I saw improvement from Kenny Pickett on the aspect of whenever he was going to get sacked, he just threw the ball away to no one. He didn't throw it in a vicinity of someone. He didn't do what we saw in the first 2 weeks where he almost threw a pick. He had good placement of his throws, and it worked to his benefit. Now, there was one where the Raiders, I think it was one of their corners or a safety, dropped an easy pick 6, which he was very lucky, but it definitely was just a misread. Looked like Connor Hayward might have messed up the route there. But other than that, Kenny Pickett looked very efficient. Him and the offensive line very much improved. I would say the offense in general is one of the goods of the week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if I had to find another good, I am so happy to say Calvin Austin, the third, got his first career touchdown, a 72-yard bomb. A bomb from Kenny Pickett. 2 receptions of 6 targets. Longest was that 72-yarder. And basically with 2 catches, they averaged out to 36 yards. George Pickens, 4 for 75. His longest was a 32-yarder, 6 targets. So him and Calvin Austin, the third, each was 6 targets. Pickens had the most receptions with 4. Pat Freiermuth got more targets this week. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown, his first touchdown of the year. Allen Robinson, 4 for 4 on targets and receptions, 24 yards. He's looked pretty good this season. Jaylen Warren, 3 receptions and 4 targets, 23 yards. And Najee and Connor Hayward were targeted, but neither of them had a reception. Rushing-wise, I would say it was the same old thing from Najee Harris. He looked a little better this week. He put up more fantasy points for people. 19 for 65, averaged 3.4, and his longest was a 17-yard run. You could say Najee Harris did look better, but you want to see more out of Najee Harris, definitely. Jaylen Warren, 8 for 29, longest was 11 yards. Kenny Pickett, 3 for 11, longest was 10 yards. We saw the one that got called back on that funny play where it's now a viral clip of George Pickens trying to do a block, and then that was basically after the illegal shift. That would have been like probably at least 25-yard run rushing for Kenny Pickett. Just got called back. And then the only weird play I didn't like in the first half was a Connor Hayward using the fullback on the 3rd down. Yeah, 1 carry, didn't get anything. So it is what it is. Running might be an issue here for the Steelers, but that could also be an O-line thing. But the O-line did legitimately look better. But when will the Steelers get that rushing touchdown for the year? There's been 0 rushing touchdowns yet. It's been all receiving, and it's been a lot of defense. They have yet to score a rushing touchdown. On the other side of the ball, Josh Jacobs is doing just like Najee Harris. He has not looked good at all either. 17 for 62 for Josh Jacobs, and for his longest was 10 yards. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 for 7. Longest was that 7-yard run. So, going into this game, I was saying to many people, and I think I said on the last episode, Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs are both struggling. I expected both to break out here, and they both still look the same. They have both been very upsetting, and I really hope both of them, just for the sake of good football, I hope both of them can break out of these slumps, especially Najee Harris from a Steeler fan perspective. But yeah, the best receiver today was definitely Davante Adams. 20 targets for Davante Adams, 13 receptions, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. The longest was that 32-yard pass on the little fourth and inches, and they just threw a bomb to Davante Adams. Davante Adams killed this Steelers defense, which was funny. Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson were the ones getting destroyed by Davante Adams. But at the same time, what was funny is they were the ones I was not really happy about in this game, and they each had the only interceptions. They forced 3 turnovers, so they won me over. They won me over towards the end of the game, basically. Levi Wallace, 2 interceptions. Patrick Peterson with 1. Levi Wallace's interception at the end sealed the fate for the Las Vegas Raiders and them losing this game. This was also, you could say, the TJ Watt versus Max Crosby show. Starting with Max Crosby. 3 total tackles, 1 by himself, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 0 pass deflections. He had 2 quarterback hits, no touchdowns. For TJ Watt, on the other hand, 2 total tackles, both by himself, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 0 pass deflections, 3 QB hits, 0 touchdowns. So both of them looked very good. The edge I would probably give to TJ Watt just because of the more sacks. Most tackles, though, went towards Max Crosby, although 2 of them were with other people, not by himself. TJ Watt is putting on a campaign to get a Defensive Player of the Year award for the 2nd time in his career. He has looked absolutely amazing. I am pretty sure that is 6 sacks through 2.5. Well, he had 6 through 2.5. So he now has 6 total sacks, I think, through 3 full games. Pull up his statistics here. So yeah, he's averaging 2 sacks a game. So far this season has 9 solo tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 0 interceptions, but has a touchdown. TJ Watt. What do you know? This guy is killing it. He is doing amazing. And it's what you like to see from this Steelers defense. He is playing like the captain he should be. I don't even think he is the captain. It's Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward, Killebrew, Pickett, and I think TJ Watt is one of the captains. I was hoping he would. Other than that, Alex Highsmith was kind of shut down this game compared to the last game. He only had 2 QB hits, but he was everywhere. I liked Cole Holcomb this game. 5 solo tackles. All of them were himself. 1 tackle for a loss. 1 pass deflection. What a hit, too. People were calling it dirty. It was a great hit to force the incompletion to Davante Adams. And here's the thing about Jimmy Garoppolo. Didn't like this game. A lot of the throws he threw to his wide receivers looked very dangerous to hurt the wide receivers, because right when they would catch it, they would just get hammered by the Steelers defense. Other than that, another receiver that was pretty good for the Raiders, Jacoby Myers. 7 receptions on 12 targets, 85 yards, 12.1 yards per catch was the average. 18 yards was the longest. So Jacoby Myers, Davante Adams were the best for the Raiders. For the Steelers, George Pickens, Calvin Austin the third. Most receptions, and then Pat Freiermuth had the other touchdown. Other than that, if you're interested in former Steelers, Robert Spillane, first game against the Steelers, 7 total tackles, 6 solo. So he was all over the place against the Steelers today. And then 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss, 0 everything else. Yeah. I really liked I saw a good thing from Joey Porter today. He was able to beat Davante Adams whenever Levi Wallace couldn't at the beginning of the game. But yeah, this Steelers offense looked better. The defense still looked very good. And they're going into a stretch of games. The best case scenario is the Steelers can do something good against the Houston Texans. And when you are playing the Houston Texans, you need to win that game. Even though you could say the Houston Texans just beat the Jaguars by 20 points, which is crazy, that is a game you have to win. You have a rookie quarterback on the Houston side. It's not really a talented team. You have to win that game. That is the game I think this Steelers offense needs to break out. Yes, this was a great game for the offense. One of the best easily the best this season, if not the best in a while. But they still only put up 23 total points, and some of it was from Chris Boswell field goals. Looking at field goal wise for Chris Boswell, he was 3 of 3, 57 yards was the longest. 2 of 2 on extra points. So it was a lot of field goals. 2 touchdowns and a bunch of field goals, basically. But they need to be able to put a lot of points on Houston. That needs to be the game where the Steelers offense breaks out. I think a lot of fans want to see that be the game. I will say this also. I know a lot of people were giving the whole Fire Canada spiel, and I'm still on that train, but I will say I will give credit to where it's due. That was probably one of the better called Matt Canada games throughout the first 3 quarters, that is. I did not like the fourth quarter play call. Game got way too close. 5-point game at the end, 23-18. And I want to look at that score at the end. The referees, with as little bias as possible towards the Steelers. I don't like to show bias. But if you're watching that game, there's no way you can say that the refs were trying to make it close. I know the game was in Vegas. Maybe a referee had some money on it. But, yeah, there's no reason that Minkah Fitzpatrick play should have been a roughing the passer. Are you not allowed to get a sack here in the NFL anymore? It looked like he was going in with his shoulder. They must have saw it with his helmet. It was clearly his shoulder leaning in with it. You're not allowed. I guess you're not allowed to sack a quarterback. Are you not allowed to do anything? Are you not allowed to just touch a quarterback to sack him? You just got to barely touch them? Is that roughing the passer? What are you supposed to do if you're a defender in that situation? That clearly gave the Raiders free points. Then we saw a pass interference in the end zone. So, yeah. The Raiders were gifted a touchdown at the end to make it 7 points in the fourth quarter. But then they got a field goal. That was so weird. Their coach went for the field goal to make it 23-18. I would have went for the touchdown, but that's just me. But there was a meme going around that he had some money on the game, of course, because it's Las Vegas. They're famous for gambling and all those resorts and casinos and hotels and stuff. But yeah, it was a very confusing play call. But I'm happy that it went like that because the Steelers still won. But it got close. That is why I'm hoping for next week, especially against Houston, the Steelers can go into Houston, put some points on the board, a lot of points. I think this next week against Houston, the way I saw the offense today, well, last night, the Steelers have a chance to put together their first ever, and it's crazy for me to say this because I don't believe it's going to happen. It's just the way I saw it on Sunday night. If the offense plays like it did against the Las Vegas Raiders, if they can play to their full potential against the Houston Texans, we could possibly see, and it's probably not going to happen, so knock on wood, if you hear that. Basically, what's going to happen, I think, is this has potential to be the first 400-yard offense game in Matt Canada's football career at coaching for the Pittsburgh Steelers, being an offensive coordinator. It should be a 300-yard game for the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense. I would hope so. But yeah, I mean, it has potential. And yes, the Texans just beat the Jaguars by 20 points. But other than that, they need to destroy the Texans. I think it's a failure if they lose to the Texans, of course. They need to win these games if they want to be a threat to make the playoffs. Like, people are making them a dark horse to make the playoffs. The Steelers need to take advantage of the upcoming schedule. They need to win the games they should be winning. And yes, the Houston Texans beat the Jaguars by a final score of 37-17. So I want to take a look at what's coming ahead for the Pittsburgh Steelers and what they have to look out for. C.J. Stroud looked very good last week against the Texans. 20 of 30, 280 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. QBR of 83.7, rating of 118.8. Yeah, he was able to carve up the Jaguars' defense. Devin Singletary, 9 for 41. Dameon Pierce was 14 for 31 with a touchdown. C.J. Stroud can also run the ball too. Now, how about this guy? Tank Dell, a receiver, 5 receptions, 7 targets, 145 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Longest was a 68-yard bomb. And I'm watching the replay right there, and look at him go. Man, Tank Dell. It's always these random guys that will destroy you. And yeah, the Jaguars, they're 1-2, and they should easily be probably 2-1. I know they lost to the Chiefs, I'm pretty sure, but they should be 2-1. What a joke of a team right now. They should be 2-1. 0-2 at home. And that was at home, too. They lost to the Houston Texans. That's bad. Another guy with a touchdown was Brevin Jordan. 2 receptions on 2 targets, 13 yards. But yeah, the Houston Texans, they could be an issue for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I want to go ahead and, just for fun, I want to take a look at the upcoming Steelers schedule here. I want to try to make this a shorter episode. They've been going out the first episode was around like 40 minutes. The second one was around like 30 some. Right now we're up to about 15 minutes. So I want to make this shorter than usual. Let's start with, I know I said I wanted to do the schedule. I want to start with my 3, I want to do very quick, a good and a bad. Players of the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what, I'll do the whole game. Players of the game. On the offensive side of the ball, Davante Adams, 13 receptions, like I said, 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's your player of the game. If you're a Raiders fan, he's a beast. But if I had to give one to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm personally giving it to Kenny Pickett. He looked very good. Even though he only had 235 yards, this was easily one of the best games of his career. He looked efficient. He had some smart decisions. 16 of 28, that's very good for him, especially since he's still developing. I'm happy about it. Going towards the defensive side of the ball. For the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm giving it to Max Crosby. He was everywhere. And for the Pittsburgh side, as much as I want to give it to TJ Watt and as much as I don't want to do this, I have to give it to Levi Wallace. He shut me up after that, getting burnt. Him and Patrick Peterson getting burnt. I saw a meme like they were like burnt toast. But he shut me up. He really told me, and I was like, you know what? I gotta give it to Levi Wallace. 2 interceptions. If you have a 2 interception game, I think you're in consideration for a player of the game for me. So Levi Wallace, defensive player of the game, I'll give it to him. As much as I do want to give it to TJ Watt, I'm going to change it up this week. Levi Wallace is your player of the game on defense for Pittsburgh Steelers. So Kenny Pickett, Davante Adams, Levi Wallace, and Max Crosby are my players of the game for Sunday Night Football. So, very quickly, going ahead to what is on deck for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, this coming Sunday at the Houston Texans. Then, they have one more game before the bye week, and it's at home against the Baltimore Ravens. That should be a good one. The Ravens are not looking like a bad team at all. They are looking pretty good. Then they go on the bye, and then this is where they should start to take some wins. If they can go into the bye week with a record of 4-1, that's best case scenario. I think the Steelers have to win this game against the Texans because they could go into the bye week at 3-2 if they get a loss to the Ravens. I'm fine with that. In that scenario, you lost to the 49ers and Ravens, which are by far the 2 hardest teams on the schedule that you faced of the first 5. You got wins. You would get wins against the Browns, Raiders, and Texans in this scenario. So you're 3-2. That's fine. Then you go to the bye week. You're at the Rams, who might be having Cooper Kupp back at that time, so be prepared for that. You got the Rams, and you got home against the Jaguars, so the Rams game's on the road, home against the Jaguars, home against the Titans, home against the Packers. 3 home games in a row, including a prime time against the Titans at 8:15 on November 2nd. So, best case scenario, I want to only go up to that Packers game because that's like the 4 after the bye week. And then after that, you have 2 on the road against the Browns and Bengals. And the Steelers end the season a lot on the road. 2 games on the road, Seahawks and Ravens. So they're getting a lot of these home games out of the way. So let's go through here. I think the not the Titans. I think the Texans lose to the Steelers. I think the Steelers get a win against them. Like I said, I think this could be the game where the offense possibly breaks out. I hope it does. You hope and pray. I think they finally get a 400-yard game, but I'm going to take a final score of 31-13. 31-13 is going to be my final score. And I get unlucky with those scores because on my radio show at my school, I picked 31-13 for the to beat the 49ers. And we saw that went. Niners almost got 31, but it was 30-7. I'm going to take the Steelers beating the Houston Texans. Final score 31-13. So in this situation, they're 3-1. Home against the Ravens, I hope they win, but I think they lose. Away at the Rams, they should win. Home against the Jaguars, I think they lose. Home against the Titans and Packers, I think those are both wins the way. If the offense keeps developing, if the offense still looks good, I think those are all wins except for the Jaguars and Ravens. So, 31-13 is my final score prediction for the Houston Texans game coming up on Sunday, this coming Sunday. Check our time. We're about 20 minutes into this episode. We're cooking. We're cooking a good episode here. But yeah, I'm excited. They've looked good. Now, I'm really interested to see when Broderick Jones is going to get a chance to play. We saw Keanu Benton get his first career sack. That guy is a beast. Oh, my goodness. Keanu Benton looks amazing. I'm excited to see some more of these rookies play. I want to see some more Nick Herbig. I would love Darnell Washington to get a reception or a target. Still haven't had that yet. He's mainly used as a blocker. I think it would be nice to see. But other than that, I think it's going to be a fun game against the Houston Texans. I hope it's not going to be a sad episode I record after. And then thankfully that game's at a 1 o'clock time, so I don't have to record the episode the next day after the football game. I can just go straight into it with my thoughts. But other than that, it's been a fun episode. We're cooking up episodes every week for these Steelers recaps. If you didn't already check it out, go check out episode 1 about the 49ers game. Episode 2 just came out against the Cleveland Browns game last week. And then episode 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders, which is this one. So episode 3, thank you especially if you have listened to all of these. Hoping to keep growing this YouTube channel, hoping to keep growing, start growing a career in the sports world. If you want to, it would really help if you would subscribe, leave a like, comment to help the algorithm, get some other people to listen to this tape, this video. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Subscribe for more content, and I will see you next time for Steelers at Texans next week, and it's going to be a fun one. I've been Nathan Osler, your host, and thanks for listening to episode 3 of Steelers Recaps. Have a good one, everyone.